Lord, who may dwell in your sanctuary? Who may live on your holy hill? These words from Psalm 15 bring us to a deep and essential question. Who is worthy to stand before God? The psalmist, in a tone of humility and devotion, asks this not as a simple inquiry about God's criteria, but as an invitation for us to reflect on the purity of our own hearts and the quality of our lives before the Lord. The life of faith is not just about words or appearances, but about what truly lies deep within us, in our hearts and actions. As we reflect on the meaning of being worthy before God, we are challenged to look beyond the surface and see what truly matters to Him. Our sincerity, our pursuit of justice, and how willing we are to live according to the principles of His Word. What God values in us is not appearances or outward gestures, but the integrity of our hearts. And that is what Psalm 15 reveals, the kind of life that pleases God and allows us to stand in His presence. The psalmist begins by asking, who may dwell on God's holy mountain? And the answer is clear and direct. Those who walk with integrity, practice justice, and have a pure heart. The dignity before God is not something earned through superficial actions or public deeds. It is a quality that comes from within, a life marked by sincerity, a constant pursuit of justice, and a heart of purity. Integrity is the first requirement for those who wish to dwell in God's presence. Integrity is not just about not doing evil, but also about having a sincere heart, free from deceit and hypocrisy. True dignity before God is reflected in a life where actions and intentions are aligned. To be integral is to be the same person inside and out. To live with a solid character that does not bend to external pressures or worldly temptations. Furthermore, the psalmist emphasizes the importance of practicing justice. Justice, according to God, goes beyond words or visible actions. It is deeply rooted in the heart and inner motivations. A just person not only acts justly when observed, but seeks justice in all their actions, even in the smallest decisions of everyday life. Justice is the reflection of a heart that is in harmony with God's will, one that does not seek personal gain at the expense of others, but cares for the well-being of the neighbor. The dignity before God is not only about outward actions, it is also reflected in our words. Psalm 15 reminds us that those who are worthy to dwell in God's tabernacle are those who do not slander with their tongue. Words have the power to build or destroy, to edify or harm. According to God, the true just person does not use their tongue to spread lies, gossip, or slander. On the contrary, they use their words to build up, to bring healing and restoration. David, in his wisdom, teaches us that being worthy before God also involves how we treat others. He speaks about not holding reproach against neighbors or harming those around us. Our treatment of others is one of the clearest ways we reflect God's dignity in our lives. When we treat others with disdain or contempt, we dishonor God's dignity. But when we choose to act with respect, honor, and compassion, we reflect His image. Psalm 15 also speaks of those who despise evil and honor those who fear the Lord. This is a powerful truth. Dignity before God requires us to choose integrity and justice, even in a world where evil seems to be everywhere. We must have the courage to despise evil and honor those who are faithful to God. This does not mean ignoring sin or evil, but choosing to live differently, according to God's principles. Moreover, the psalmist speaks of the importance of keeping commitments, being faithful even when it costs us something. He who despises the wicked and honors those who fear the Lord is a characteristic of those who live with integrity before God. Being worthy before God also involves keeping our word, even when it might be challenging. Dignity before God is reflected in how we fulfill our commitments and how we treat others, especially those who have less power or influence over us. And finally, the psalmist reminds us that those who live this way will be unshaken. Whoever does these things will never be shaken. True dignity before God gives us stability and strength to face life's difficulties. When we live according to God's principles, no matter how strong the storms we face, God sees the sincerity of the heart, the deep motivations, and the acts of justice. He is not interested in empty rituals or actions that have no root in a pure heart. True dignity before God comes from the commitment to live according to His will in every area of life, with a heart that is integral, just, and honest. God, in His infinite wisdom, does not only require us to live righteously in appearance, but also in the deepest part of our being. Psalm 15 calls us to a way of life aligned with His will, which goes beyond visible behavior. He looks at our hearts. He observes our intentions, our motivations, and what truly drives our actions. When we look at dignity before God, it's important to remember that He is not merely concerned with our good deeds or outward appearances. He wants us to be pure and sincere on the inside, reflecting His holiness in all that we do. God desires communion with us. Dignity before God is not a matter of merit or perfection. It is a matter of sincerity and commitment to His justice. He wants each of us to have a heart that bows before Him, that seeks His presence, and desires to live according to His will. True dignity is not about a life without failure, but about a life that seeks with all of its heart to please God. He is faithful to help us live justly, for He sees beyond our failures, and He strengthens us every day. In every moment of our lives, we have the opportunity to reflect God's justice. Sometimes, we live in a world full of uncertainties and the corruption and injustice around us may make us wonder, where is God? Why does He allow this? Psalm 15 reminds us that even when evil seems to dominate, God is watching. He sees our struggles and is working on our behalf. God sees the hearts of the just and promises to sustain those who seek His justice. He is present in the fight against evil and is our refuge. No matter how difficult your situation may be, God is with you. He promises to be by the side of the just. Even when injustice seems to prevail, we can be certain that even in the struggles, He has not abandoned us. His presence is our strength, and His justice will ultimately prevail. Now, let's come before God in prayer. He invites us to bring our doubts, fears, and struggles to Him. We can be honest in His presence, knowing He hears and sees our hearts. Repeat after me, from the heart. Lord, I come before You recognizing my weakness. I know I am not worthy in myself, but I know that Your grace covers me and strengthens me. I bring to You all my struggles, doubts, and fears. I want to live according to Your will, and I ask for strength and wisdom to live with justice and purity. Pause for a moment and feel the peace of surrendering your concerns to God. He is faithful and just to help us. Lord, help me to walk with integrity. Purify my heart so that my actions and words may always reflect Your justice. Even in times of struggle, I want to trust in You. I know You will sustain me and guide me in Your ways. As we continue reflecting on the powerful truths of Psalm 15, we must hold on to this profound reminder. God is always watching, and He knows the hearts of His people. While the world around us may seem to be filled with injustice and corruption, we must remember that God sees all, and His justice will prevail in His perfect time. The psalmist paints a picture of a world where the wicked seem to prosper, where evil seems to have the upper hand. But in the midst of this, David boldly declares that God is not blind to our suffering. He is not distant from our pain. Even when it seems as if evil is winning, God is aware, and His justice will not be delayed. David's cry is one of deep anguish, but also of profound faith. In the midst of his own struggles, he trusts in God's ability to bring justice. He knows that God's justice will prevail in the end, and so should we. When we face injustice, suffering, or oppression, we must hold on to the truth that God is faithful. His justice is coming, and though it may not come on our timetable, we can trust that it will come. God is a righteous judge, and His will ultimately be done. This truth is especially comforting when we see the wicked prospering or when we suffer at the hands of others. It's easy to feel like justice will never come, to feel helpless. But David reminds us that God is actively watching, and He will act in His time. His justice is perfect, and in His timing, He will make all things right. In the face of corruption and evil, we are called to trust that God's justice will triumph. We are not called to fight these battles on our own. God is our refuge, our strength, and our shield. We can stand firm in our faith because we know that God will right the wrongs of this world. David's words remind us that, despite the evil around us, God is present with His people. He will not leave us or forsake us. When the world feels chaotic and unjust, we can trust that He is with us, watching over us, and working for our good. This is where our faith grows stronger. Even when it seems like the world is filled with chaos and evil, we can declare with confidence that God is faithful, and His justice will come. As we conclude our journey through Psalm 15, we are reminded that dignity before God is not about perfection or flawless behavior. It is about sincerity, integrity, and living according to His justice. In this psalm, we are called to live a life of purity and righteousness, not for our own glory, but for God's. It is about aligning our hearts with His will and reflecting His holiness in all that we do. We may not always live up to these standards, but God, in His grace, meets us where we are. Even when we fall short, His love and mercy are ever present. He does not call us to perfection, but to a genuine pursuit of holiness, justice, and integrity. When we fall, He picks us up, strengthens us, and continues to lead us. True dignity before God comes when we align our lives with His will. This means living with honesty, seeking justice, and speaking with integrity. It is not a life without struggles, but it is a life that seeks to honor God in every area. When we do these, we can be confident that God sees our efforts, our sincerity, and our desire to live according to His will. As we walk through this broken world, we are reminded that God's justice will ultimately prevail. Though we may face oppression, injustice, or hardship, we can trust that God is working on our behalf, and His justice will come in His perfect time. He is the righteous judge, and He will restore all things. We do not have to fight these battles alone. God is with us, guiding us and bringing about His perfect justice. God's justice is our hope. It is not something we wait for passively, but something we trust will happen even in the darkest of times. He sees every wrong, every injustice, and He promises that those who live with integrity and faith will be upheld. No matter how dark the world may seem, God's justice is coming, and with it, hope, restoration, and peace. As we close, reflect on the areas of your life where you are trusting God for justice, healing, or restoration. Know that He is faithful. Even when things seem uncertain, His justice will come, and we can stand firm in that truth.